They tipped him $7 on a $693 order. Then they filmed themselves laughing about it. That video was supposed to be a joke. Instead, it became the most expensive mistake that dealership ever made. This is the story of Marcus, a 22-year-old pizza delivery driver from Texas who never asked for revenge, never asked for fame. He just wanted to be treated like a human being. And when he wasn't, the entire internet showed up for him. Stay with me, because this story goes places you will not expect. Before we talk about what happened at that dealership, you need to understand who Marcus was, because this story only hits the way it does when you understand what his life actually looked like. Marcus grew up in a working-class neighborhood outside of Dallas, Texas. His mom raised him mostly on her own. She worked double shifts at a grocery store for most of his childhood. He watched her do that every day, and it taught him something most people never learn until it is too late. That hard work is not embarrassing, that showing up is not weakness, that there is dignity in every job done right. By the time Marcus was 19, his mom got sick. Nothing sudden, just a slow, grinding kind of sick that working people get when they spend 20 years on their feet with no real health care. The medical bills started stacking up. Marcus dropped his college plans. Not forever, he told himself. Just for now. He picked up a job delivering pizzas. The pay was not great. The hours were long. Some nights he drove 30, 40 miles. And after gas, after wear on his car, he barely broke even. But the tips kept him going. Most people were decent. A few were generous. And on a good night, Marcus could make enough to cover his mom's copay for the week. That was the goal. Not getting rich. Not going viral. Just covering the copay. Remember that, because it matters later. It was a Friday afternoon in the middle of summer. Marcus had already done 2 deliveries that day. Nothing special. Then a new order came through on the app. He looked at it and stopped. 20 pizzas, wings, sodas, desserts. Total, $693. Marcus felt his stomach lift. A big order almost always meant a big tip. That was the unwritten rule. You spend $600 on food. You take care of the person who carried it to your door. He carefully loaded everything into his old Honda Civic, stacked it perfectly so nothing would shift. Checked the address. A luxury car dealership, 40 minutes away. In Friday afternoon traffic, he did not complain. He just drove. When he finally pulled into the parking lot, he noticed something strange right away. Several employees were already standing near the entrance, not waiting to help, just standing there, holding their phones up, laughing about something. Marcus figured maybe they were filming a prank for social media. He smiled politely, grabbed the first stack of boxes, and walked inside. That is when it started. One employee looked out at Marcus's old Honda Civic in the parking lot and shouted, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Careful with those pizzas. They cost more than your car." The room erupted. Marcus froze for just a second, then forced a smile. He needed this job, so he kept moving, trip after trip, box after box, back and forth from his car to their break room, while they kept filming and laughing and pointing. No one offered to help. No one held a door. Not one person said thank you. When the last box was inside, the manager walked over. He was holding the receipt. Marcus looked down at the total, $693. Then his eyes moved to the tip line, $7. He blinked. Surely there was a mistake. Maybe they meant to add a zero. Then the manager looked Marcus directly in the eye, smirked, and said, "Don't spend it all in one place." The room exploded again. Phones pointed right at Marcus's face, recording his reaction. 40 minutes driving, heavy lifting, gas money burned, were on his tires, all for $7. And they were laughing at him for it. Marcus said nothing. He quietly signed the receipt, looked up, and said 2 words, "Have a good day." Then he walked out, head up, back straight, and drove home. That should have been the end of it. But one employee could not help themselves. They uploaded the video that same night. At first, the video got a few hundred views, then a few thousand. By morning, it had crossed 1 million. And the comments were not kind. People were furious, not just annoyed, genuinely, deeply furious. Because most people watching that video had been Marcus before. They knew what it felt like to work a job that paid too little, to smile through disrespect because you needed the paycheck, to drive home after a shift and do the math and realize it barely covered gas. This was not just a video about a pizza driver. This was a mirror, and what people saw in it made them angry. The comments flooded in by the thousands. Someone identified the dealership, posted the name, the location, the owner's name, the Yelp page, the Google reviews page, the Facebook page. Within hours, thousands of one-star reviews poured in. People who had never been to Texas, people who had never bought a car in their lives, leaving reviews, sharing the video, tagging local news stations. Boycott hashtags started trending. Customers began calling to cancel appointments. By the next morning, the dealership was trending nationwide, not for selling cars, for humiliating a delivery driver. The dealership panicked. They deleted comments, disabled reviews, took down their social media posts, and then posted an apology. But people noticed something immediately. The apology barely mentioned Marcus. It focused almost entirely on protecting the company's image. That made everything worse, because now it was not just about one bad video. It was about who these people actually were. And then former employees started speaking out. One wrote, "This behavior happened all the time." Another said, "Management treated service workers like this regularly." Now it was a pattern, and the story had a completely different weight. While all of this was happening online, Marcus was still driving, still delivering, still working. He had no idea any of this was going on. He found out the way most people find out things about themselves on the internet. Someone texted him a link. He pulled over, watched the video, and saw himself being laughed at, being mocked, on a screen that millions of people had already seen. He later said he sat in his car for a long time after that. Not angry, just tired. The kind of tired that has nothing to do with sleep. But then something else started happening. A local businessman in Dallas had seen the story. He tracked down Marcus's contact information through the pizza company, called him directly, told him he wanted to meet. Marcus figured it was maybe a big delivery order. He showed up to a parking lot and found a crowd waiting for him. People he had never met, holding signs, clapping, and behind them, a brand new car, paid in full. For him, Marcus broke down crying on the spot. That video went viral too. Within 24 hours, it had more views than the original, because people needed to see it. They needed proof that the world could correct itself. That kindness was still real. That one act of cruelty could be answered by thousands of acts of generosity. Donations started pouring in after that. $10, $50, $100, from complete strangers across the country. People who saw themselves in Marcus. Working people. People who knew what it felt like to be underestimated, to be laughed at, to be made to feel small by people who thought money made them better. They were not just helping Marcus. They were correcting something. Here is what happened to the dealership. Sales dropped. Employees involved in the video were let go. The company lost partnerships. The owner was forced to make a public statement. And the business never fully recovered its reputation. All because of a $7 tip and a video they thought was funny. Here is what happened to Marcus. He paid off his mother's medical bills. He enrolled in college. He drives a car that people do not mock in parking lots. And he has never forgotten where he came from. He said something in an interview afterward that stayed with me. He said, "I was not looking for justice. I was just trying to get home." That is the thing about karma that nobody tells you. It does not always come when you want it. It does not always look the way you imagined. Sometimes it takes the shape of a stranger buying you a car. Sometimes it takes the shape of a million people deciding they have had enough. And sometimes the people who laugh the loudest end up the most forgotten. Marcus did not destroy that dealership. He just did his job with his head up and said have a good day. The world handled the rest. If this story hit you somewhere real, drop a comment with the word Marcus and tell me, have you ever been in his shoes? Have you ever smiled through something that broke your heart a little? because if you have, this story was for you.